Well, I've been home from Vegas for a week. I have not unpacked or reset any of the gear. I had a 2-day shoot this week that ended up canceling, so everything's just sat. I broke my own rule of always next day, reset the defaults. Just been procrastinating. A common question is, what type of cases do I use for airline travel? Checked gear. And the answer is I own 4 Pelican 1615s, and they store on the top shelf of my rack here in the garage. Mostly empty. I leave some lights, some stands, and 1 tripod in those cases, but everything else comes in and out of the van. When another crew member that I haven't worked with in a little bit is operating some of my gear, I like to prep it in advance and shoot a video to go over the details prior to the day. Okay, Eric, just so we're on the same page in the morning and we don't look confused in front of the client, I got the mixer prepped for you. The project's already set up. It's 2398 time code. I made a new record project. That's just tomorrow's date, so you don't need, all you should have to do is power up the mixer tomorrow. Channel 1, I've got set up for the boom, and this audio bag has got all the mics and accessories. There's 2 XLRs right here, so boom mic is here, and then you'll patch it into channel 1. I have channels 2 and 3 set up for the lav, but right now I only have record enabled on channel 1, which is labeled boom, and channel 2, which is labeled lav. These are all tuned out from a previous shoot, the gain, so we should be pretty close. 3 is not set up right now. They didn't call for a second lav. They're supposed to be single person interviews, and then we have a press conference. I think for the press conference, I'll just run an XLR directly into the camera and bypass the mixer. So really, you're just mixing on single person interviews like we did at Boeing. I'm not going to timecode slate these. Instead, we'll have a timecode locket box on my Burano A camera and Kevin's FX6B camera. In the morning, once you power your mixer up and leave it powered, because the timecode will drift if you power down, then you're going to power these 2 lockets up and connect the BNC to the timecode out on the mixer, into the locket, verify visually the timecodes match, and then you can hand this off to Kevin. This is there are 2 of these in that audio bag, and I have a 3rd one already installed on my camera, the Sony Burano. And then there's a stick mic in here. There is scissors and various lav concealer adhesives. This stuff's getting kind of old, medical tape, but there are these other cut to fit super stickums. And then behind the transmitter, there's some of that moleskin Dr. Scholl stuff, which just needs to be trimmed with the scissors. The stuff, the furry bits. I don't know if they want us to hide the lavs or if they can be visible. I'm just letting you know. I put fresh batteries in both transmitters, number 1, number 2. Again, we should only need number 1. And then there are 2 lav mics here that go with those transmitters. And I also have, if we have RF issues, because there's a bunch of other media there. So if we have RF problems, we can switch over and run an XLR cable and bypass electro. Put this bad boy into a cable goes into the mixer. And then I've got here, if it's windy during our interviews, this furry works really well. It just slips over the mic capsule. Then there's the metal furry for very light wind. And then right now the rubber concealer to hide the lav under clothing is on there. Again, I don't know what we're going to use. And then this is another Sanken windscreen that I've never used. And then there's, in place of that tape on, there's the standard lapel clip right here. Each of my mics are all set up the same with the same accessories. Just be careful when you open the case that you don't lose any of those little accessory bits. And there are 2 mics, like I said, right here in the audio bag next to the transmitters, which have fresh batteries. In addition, all of these transmitter batteries are topped off. Then Burano media. I've got a block transmitter. It's Sony. It's not set up. It's in the van. If we need to do wire, I don't think we're gonna need this, but it's in the bag. There's a handheld reporter stick mic in here, which I don't think we're gonna need it. And just, there's a locket. A few other random items. The News Nation flag, which we're not using. Flashlight. And then the boom pole just rides right there. I don't know how much booming you're going to do, honestly. I think it may just be straight single lav like we did it at Boeing. And then the audio snake will connect to the Burano. We're not sending any audio to the B camera. And I already got the snake on the camera, so you will need to attach and disconnect as needed. The quick connect headphones are in this pouch. Oh, there's motion lights, stand by. I'm less than 10 feet from the sensor and it doesn't see me. Headphones, the headphone jack is this pigtail right here, and I don't know if you remember, but there's a multi-function dial right in here to adjust headphone volume, and also cycle the menus and center select to click. And then I've got one gold mount brick in here to power the mixer. I'm gonna power this down right now just by unplugging this. That should be good for the duration tomorrow. Power up in the morning and we're good. Just remember, if you lose power or change out batteries, we need to re-jam those 2 locket boxes on the cameras to the mixer to keep everything synchronized. All right, I think that's it. Hit me back if you have any questions. 30 minutes early. No gate info on how to get in. It's a secure event in a secured community. And I got a bunch of the parking and traffic coordinator folks behind me, and they don't know how to get in either. So it's good to be early. We'll wait and see what happens. Rejamming cameras we had on the B cam, in versus out, and it needs to be on preset, free run versus regen to grab these. I always get confused with Sony cameras. The settings are not what I think they would be for external link. And then in the panic, one of my BNCs got destroyed, so reminded myself to order a few more. Velcro fail on the lockets, so the FX6 was set up with prickly Velcro, the rough side, and the lockets have rough side. And then the Burano is soft side, and the Burano locket was also soft side. So obviously should have swapped those 2 lockets. I didn't realize there was one of each. What is the standard? My understanding was the camera gets the soft material, so it's not rubbing on the operator's clothing or their arm. It's not scratchy and grippy, and the accessories are either on the camera or they go back in the case. I mean, in a perfect world, I wouldn't have any adhesive Velcro, but that's just not how things work out. I can't show any of my footage from this event. I will get into some of the BTS, but the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, was present. It's a bunch of corporate sponsors donating their 400th home to the Homes for Our Troops program. This, as you can see here from the governor, this was in New Braunfels, Texas, 28-minute drive from my front door. A good day to not have to travel and stay in a hotel. We'll get into some BTS, but like I said, my footage is not yet live, so I can't share any of it. I think we shot 5 interviews total, all single person. I tried to change the camera position each time, but have the house and some of the crowd in the background, and then alternating eye lines. Each one, I just flopped the eye line to the other side and ran a single aperture bicolor in daylight at about 75%, just to fill the eyes a little bit. Unfortunately, the sun was behind the house, even though we were like 11, 12, 1 in the afternoon. So it worked out great having people out front with some backlight on their shoulders and then just, a little fill on their faces. I mean, could have polished it with a flag and some more lighting with more time, but given the circumstances and time constraints, pretty happy with how it turned out. And then we shot, I think it ran a little over an hour, a ceremony with a bunch of speakers. After that, I was out and about shooting B-roll. Quite happy with the Burano in shoulder mode with the kit zoom. And this is my first shoot in 8K AVC-H, less tiring than the FX9. And my FX9 kitted out. The Burano feels a little bit lighter, even though the camera body's heavier. Kevin's shooting additional B-roll and some second angles on his FX6. Here I am in my goofy hat, but I don't care anymore. It's 98 degrees. I got to dress like a Texan to make it through these hot days. And I got through this one. 100 SPF sunscreen and my hat, boots, and jeans because my legs do not agree with these invasive fire ants. I get tore up and it takes me 4 or 5 days to recover, and that's with Benadryl cream and taking pills. So I just want to avoid that. I'll sweat more, wear the jeans and the cowboy boots, and then, all right, debrief on this project. I embarrassed myself twice, things I want to improve on next time, and then, I damaged the Burano, which we'll get into coming up. But first up, I had coordinated with the main photographer regarding the family's arrival in the motorcade. Basically, the lead car, or the car they're in, pulls into the driveway. They get out on the passenger side. So we set up that I would stand over her shoulder on the passenger side of the driveway so we're not blocking each other and get that moment. Well, the car pulled in a little faster than anticipated, and it pulled down the driveway further than I anticipated. And I got myself on the wrong side of the driveway, and then the CEO, who's a retired Marine Corps general, was escorting the car in on foot, and he just kind of shot me a look as I'm trying to cross the driveway, like, you're not supposed to be here, you're supposed to be on the side. I'm like, I know, and I just pointed to the other side, got myself over there, got my shot, all was well.
As Americans are watching TV, they see our military in war zones across the world, appreciative, but having really no comprehension about the peril or the pain that those soldiers are feeling and going through where they are.
All right, how do I remedy this AF situation? It's locked on with the orange bar of Governor Abbott, but I want it to track the person that's speaking at the lectern. It was just this blue shirt guy. Whenever he was up there, it would go over to the governor, but all my other speakers, the box with the orange bar would stay on the presenter. I mean, they appear to be on the same focal plane, so all is well, but I don't understand what's going on there. This is kind of like the conference ballroom when you're up on the riser and people walk by and sit down on your tripod riser. Fortunately, the IBIS handled the little bit of shake that was happening on the sticks. I was on the end of the lens, 135 mil, but I left it alone. It wasn't affecting my shot. Second embarrassing moment. The event concludes. They're doing some group photos in front of the house. We're shooting a few more interviews with the house and the group photos in the background. And Kevin's out at the street to get B-roll of the governor's motorcade departing. But I also wanted Kevin to get some B-roll shots of the group photos. So I walk towards Kevin. He's about 30 feet away, say his name. He can't hear me over the music and all the people talking. And so I keep walking a little closer, get a little louder, Kevin, Kevin. And then I'm stepping up and this gentleman turns and just shoots me a look, maybe 5 feet away from each other. And I realize he's one of the governor's security detail, just looking at me like, what's your problem, dude? And I didn't realize Governor Abbott was still in the driveway and he was chatting with a few people at the end of the driveway. And I had kind of stepped into the bubble. And anyway, felt like a fool for a moment. So sorry, Kevin, I blew it. You were in the right spot. You were getting the shot, and I was oblivious. My bad. Good day today. One of the rare ones where I'm working 28 minutes from home, and we wrapped it 1400. Almost bought a house 12 minutes away from today's location. Wish we had, but it wasn't meant to be, so still looking. I am going to reset the truck, what I didn't do when I got back from Vegas, same day, or next day. Burano is going back on the shelf. FX9 camera A is going to go on the cart I'm on hold for a live hit travel assignment that I'll be driving the van, but staying in a hotel, kind of the usual, like you've seen in past vlogs. Hasn't confirmed, but I'd say it's about 75% solid at this point, but regardless, I need to reset. And I have a bag of bricks. I need to buy a new fridge. This Set Power DC refrigerator, got 4 years out of it, but it's 98 degrees Fahrenheit right now, and the fridge, I just turned it off, but it's been running for a day and a half, and the best it can do is 68 degrees. And that's, I even took it out of eco mode, and that's all it could do. So I'm gonna start shopping. I'm a little space restricted now because I built all my cabinets and partitions based on the dimension of that Set Power fridge. I'm thinking the Dometic will be a better purchase just based on the higher cost, but I think it's wider. And also I think what contributed to the short lifespan of that refrigerator is the air vents were blocked by the cabinet that I made, so it wasn't getting proper airflow, and I think the compressor just ran basically non-stop in the heat. I think it just wore it out, and it's getting like, I don't think it's low on gas, I think the compressor is just not compressing. It's like a worn cylinder rings. Got the camera in place for our first shot this morning, threw the power switch, and no power, no light. Thought maybe the gold mount battery was asleep. It wasn't, it was awake. Swapped to a different battery, same result. Jumping in from the edit, I figured out my problem looking at the footage. The P-tap cable for the 4-way splitter going into the battery plate, it's got jammed in the wrong way, which takes significantly more force than putting it in the right way. So reverse polarity. I thought the splitter I bought had reverse polarity protection. Turns out it doesn't. So what had happened is I think the first battery saw the short or the ground fault, and immediately the battery shut down. And then I put the second battery on, same thing happened, but I pushed the fuel gauge button on the battery to like wake it up or see if it was charged, and that engaged the battery again for a moment or two. And that sent, I think what happened is it sent positive current down the ground wire of the P-tap cable to the OC monitor, through the OC monitor onto the ground. I'm assuming the ground pins on the HDMI connector, which went back into the Burano. And what I feeling around, I felt the HDMI connector on the camera end was warm. So I immediately pulled the battery and unplugged everything. And I didn't realize what had happened until I got home here. But yeah, I fried the HDMI port on the Burano. All the other I/O on the camera works. Camera didn't throw any errors. My footage is fine. But yeah, I caused some damage. I believe that OC monitor is fine. Like, it didn't care. It actually booted up with the wrong polarity. And I'm not sure on the input. I don't remember now if I tested it or not. I ended up setting up a second monitor to the Burano to verify. You can see here I was just testing, and yeah, I'm not getting HDMI out. OC is not seeing anything. I tried all new cables, external power supply. I'm not powering off the battery plate on the camera, and that's not any good. So then I switched to my Fuel World Sunlight Bright monitor. SDI is fine, 1 and 2, no problems there. But HDMI into the Fuel World, same thing, no picture. Before I discovered the source of my fail, I posted the question on the Facebook Burano users group and got some good suggestions. Turns out none of them were the source. It was me, operator error. It's not a fault of the camera. Yes, it's frustrating that I got HDMI ports on pro cameras, but probably potentially the same thing would have happened if I had a BNC SDI monitor on there. Maybe it's even more sensitive with the 12G SDI, which several people suggested. And Ryan sent me the RE bulletin regarding power shorts with 12G SDI. So that's all. I've heard about that out in the field, never experienced it firsthand. But regardless of all that, I screwed up. It's on me. I prepped the camera. I somehow managed to jam that P-tap in the wrong way, which leads to, many say P-tap's bad. It's a bad connector for this very reason. And yes, that is true. I just have so many accessories over so many years still in use and cables that it would cost me a small fortune to update everything. And the 2-pin and 3-pin LEMO, I've had multiple shorts on accessories with 2-pin and 3-pin LEMO because there isn't, I guess, a standard on which pins or which polarity with those two. I'm trying to remember back. I fried the port on an RE camera. We had like a Bartek on one camera. We had a Preston with an MDR on another camera, plus monitors, accessories on 3-pin and 2-pin power. And I'm trying to remember now. I think it was Teradek is the opposite polarity of Bartek, or maybe it was Bartek's the opposite polarity of Preston. So even though the cables appear to be cross-compatible, if you patch the wrong cable into the wrong device, it's a short and you fry things. And I've had more damaged LEMOs to the point of a short out. I've only had one other P-tap reverse polarity fail. It was like 10 years ago on a Steadicam rig that I was building out. We were running, I think, like a little DSLR on like a big boy Steadicam, like a 5D back in the day when the mini HDMI was the only option. So I had a P-tap to 5-volt USB-A adapter to power something. I don't remember what it was. Anyway, the little voltage converter in line on the cable, when I plugged in the wrong polarity, it exploded, and I could have lost an eye, or somebody else could have. Sounded like a little 22 long rifle gunshot. It was loud, and it embedded metal shrapnel. It punched through my t-shirt and put some metal chunks into my skin on my chest. Had a bruise from it. I was able to pick the metal out and just kind of bloody, nasty scab. But yeah, career to date, this is only my second time damaging gear or humans with a P-tap cable, but I've had more fried equipment experiences with 2-pin and 3-pin. All right, it's getting a little long. That's it for this week. I'm still on hold for this coming week. I don't know if I'm traveling or not. I'll hear it any moment.